So Justin, I'm thinking, this Here We Grow project, it's been going pretty good.
I think so as well.
What if we wanted to do more? What if we bought land and made it long-term?
And maybe buy more than 20 acres?
Okay, and then what if we decide that we gotta pass it along someday?
Sure, I mean, it's gonna happen at some point if we keep it.
But there's all that stuff, there's easements,
We got that pipeline running through the field right now.
the diversion is kinda close by. How are we gonna sort that all out?
Who's it gonna go to?
I have no idea, but maybe we should have a plan.
Probably find someone to talk to about how we go into transition to the next generation.
I think one of our sponsors might know how to fix this.
You think Mark might have an idea?
We should probably ask him.
All right, let's go do it.
Okay. What if we want to have more acres down the road and we want to keep this long term and maybe we want to buy more? What do we have to do if we want to start planning long term for an estate?
Let me ask you a couple of questions, if I may, to help me understand where you're coming from. Is this land that you guys purchased or inherited?
Let's say we're going to purchase it now.
Okay, so you've been renting it up to this date, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. So let's just kind of talk a little bit. There's really 4 different areas we need to talk about. Number one, how probate would fit into an estate plan, and if you guys understand that, probate is simply a process if you don't have anything, you die intestate, or if you have a will set up for your estate, everything that you have that's deedable property, including numbered accounts, are all frozen at your death.
Do we have a will?
I don't think we do have a will.
This is also a problem.
The reason I mention that is because you're kind of in a good place then if you don't have anything. Otherwise it's like getting a car and having to replace the engine. You don't want to have to do that. That's more work. It's just a mess then, and it takes a lot more work. So it costs more money to undo it than fix it. So I'd say if you could do things right the first time, as my dad used to always say, right the first time, you're going to save a lot of headaches.
Don't do it a second time.
So the second thing I'm going to ask a couple other serious questions if you don't mind.
That'll be a problem for us.
How many years have you guys been married?
Well, this is actually my mom.
Yeah, we
Okay,
just
well,
lived together.
and my mom is dating who now? Dad passed?
The other weather guy.
Yeah, these weathermen have all these ladies in their pocket.
She's got a lake place.
Yeah, so now it's gonna.
So let me ask you, if let's just say they did fall madly in love again, love did blossom, and they went ahead and got married, then mom passed, guess who would have control of all the estate?
Son or dad?
The new husband would.
Doesn't seem like that's gonna work out.
We
the
can't-
best.
Dean
We
can't.
can't allow that.
Okay,
kind
so
of
what I
cannot
would
be in
advise
charge.
then is you're really in a good place there, Mom.
Okay.
Is if you would, because what we want to do, if I understand what you're really trying to say to me, and you have to help me, because sometimes men hear things, but we don't always process them correctly. That's just how God made us. I think what you're really trying to say is we want to protect what you have. In other words, we don't want someone to take it away from mom, whether it be somebody else down the road. If mom would pass away, we want it to directly go to you and your other siblings. If there's a divorce, we don't want to have a son or daughter-in-law trying to take their inheritance.
Right.
And so, but if you would pass away, God forbid you'd have that child that would pass, which is
Tragic.
it's awful. The grieving that happens is just so. Your grandkids and your portion would be held in trust for them. The money, the assets would be managed by a successor trustee until they got in a place where they can receive those dollars.
Now our soybeans the land is an asset, but what about the actual crop, the soybeans itself?
There's a lot of beans on there.
Because you want 65 bushels an acre.
And that's a lot of money at $15 a bushel.
Yeah, well, what I would recommend is that, number one, soybeans in and of themselves, they don't necessarily have a title to them. They're not a numbered account per se. So what type of asset category are they then? They're called personal property, especially if you're doing business as a Farmer Joe. They're a personal property. Personal property is also probated too, especially if you have creditors.
Do you owe people money?
A few.
You got your John Deere paid for you at the you know, I mean.
I made sure to pay that off.
Okay, that was more important than the house, I hear you. So, yeah, you're right.
In the house.
No, so by setting up, I think what you want to add to it, God forbid, then let's say if you offered $100,000 per square foot, you sold it for $20 million. Well, we want you guys to be able to do that, but if you pass away, we want that next generation to get that stepped up cost basis so you don't have to pay Uncle Sam all those capital gain taxes.
Nobody dies during this project because we cannot let these types of things happen.
Okay.
No guarantees, but we'll try our darndest.
There's another thing that we have to consider too is what they call, they got medicine nowadays to keep a guy alive for 15 years, you know. Remember Weekend at Bernie's? He was alive the whole weekend, you know.
Well, you can keep someone alive on machines indefinitely.
Well, so what we need to do is also establish a power of attorney. And a power of attorney gives, when somebody has that document in their hand, they're actually a legal clone of you. They can do anything and everything you can do. But with the power of attorney, you also have what they call guardians. Guardians and the people that you've appointed, they can be opposite people, but the guardians are the ones, if you just have a will, wills don't go into effect until after you die. They don't help for incapacity. So you need a guardianship in order to take over your financial affairs if you become incapacitated. So you got all these millions for all these bushels, but you're not mom no more. You could be, you respond to Susie, you know, what the heck.
So
you know?
we need a will, we need guardians, we need a power of attorney.
No, God forbid you guys enjoy some of this money so you're out in Colorado and all of a sudden you fall and break your back and you're in a hospital. Well, the doctors are going to ask before you come home, they're going to need what they call a health care directive. Oh, and a judge is remember a judge is an elected official and it's their job to keep the assets in a county. So they're not going to let mom come home until they have that document. So what we need to do is, in my opinion here, we should really look at an entire plan here that's going to have power of attorney, power of attorney that have guardianships in there. We need a health care directive for agents. We also need a living will. Then we also need a revocable living trust document, and what that does, it's going to avoid the probate and void the guardianship when you're incapacitated. Then when the kids pass away, your successor, you pass away, the successor comes right on in and he administrates it to your beneficiaries. And if there's a buy-sell agreement with the land and the kids, a lot of them do it that way. And there's also, even though we have a revocable living trust agreement, there's also another important document that you get with that, and that's called you are going to get a will with that, but it's not a normal will. It's called a pour-over will.
There's nothing normal about what we do.
Nothing normal. Because what's going to happen is you're going to buy a different pickup someday, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going to forget to put the pickup in the trust. That happens all the time. Or they have an antique Mustang in the garage. They forgot they had it. And that's still in so-and-so's individual name. So guess what's going to happen before that asset gets transferred? That's going to be probated. But having a pour-over will, the purpose of that is to, anything you're saying, I hereby give anything that I own that I have not given to, that I currently own, I hereby give it to my trust. So it really serves as a safety net. So we do need safety nets involved. Okay, so you are going to get a pour-over will. Then you got to have that land now you just bought. We're going to have to do a quitclaim deed. That's going to take it out of your individual names, and it's going to be granted to the revocable living trust, which you're the first trustees of. And so if you decide to sell that, you can. You decide to put more acres, we can. All we have to do is do another quitclaim deed with the attorney, and he's going to help with that. But no, you got all this money in your bank accounts. If we're not careful, I never tell you to put kids' names on bank accounts. No, because what happens is all of a sudden Susie's looking at her phone and rear ends somebody and gets killed during an asset search. this account now that has $10 million in it from all your soybeans. Now it's frozen until the case is settled.
Oh, boy.
And that happens all the time. So let's not do it that way.
Okay.
Let's let our power of attorney be that power of attorney in case Susie needs to take over that account. But what we are going to do is we're going to put a beneficiary designation on that account. Paid, it's a POD, and that's just an acronym. It says paid on death to your revocable living trust. So your trustee on that time can come in there and get that cashier's check to open up a trust account that he can there, and therefore your successors can pay it to all those wonderful children, you two.
We have a lot to do.
Well, you know, the nice thing about it is you have a choice.
We do.
Life is about choices.
Okay.
You certainly can go to a generic attorney if you want. I don't necessarily recommend that. Their fee is typically run $5,000 to $7,000. And what they're going to do is they're going to put all this together in a nice little package for you. Then they're going to send it to you. Then they're going to mail you a letter. It's going to be 5 or 10 pages called a letter of instruction of all the different things you need to do.
I don't like doing things.
Including going to the FSA.
I'll do the homework.
Okay.
Including the grain on deferral that you didn't want to take income for. That all has to be put in your trust. That'll all be probated. Including the machinery, those John Deeres, they don't have a title to it. Those are called personal property, and they are probated. And also the loan that you may have with Farm Credit Services, God bless that organization. They've helped many farmers, but what happens is their accounts don't have beneficiary designations. So what we need to do when next time you see your representative, put that loan in the name of your revocable living trust. Then your trustee won't have any issues if he has to go in there and pay off the tractor, pay off the account, and he won't have any issue with that.
Okay.
Then we're gonna go to the bank, we got a lot of stuff. So it's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah, and we got to start bit by bit. So we got a list of things to do because farming is not just about putting a seed in the ground, waiting for the crop to come out. We have to manage all the other stuff that might go with it too.
A lot of things behind the scenes.
But I'm gonna try to take this complicated process that we're talking about. I'm going to try to simplify it. Is that okay with you guys?
It would be way better if you just wrote us a list.
What I'm going to do here is that's what we're good at. Because a trust has 2 parts to it. Just 2 parts, and that's all it has. I don't care. It has the legal part, and that's what the attorney does, and we need him to do all the legal work and all the, but it has another part that's just as important as that legal work. And that includes all the funding, because a well-written, then properly funded trust, what it will do, it'll avoid the probate at death. It not only protect your estate and your assets, but prevent the courts from calling your assets when you're incapacitated. And that's exactly, I think, what you guys need to do here. And that way, if you want to add to your operation, we can. If you want to sell things, you can. If you want to pass it on, it's going to go up in stepped up basis. There's so many different things about your life insurance that you probably have, which I hope you have. If you have life insurance, we're going to have that paid to the trust too, not to an individual. Because Johnny just might decide he wants to live in Tijuana because he can afford to now. For the rest of his life, you know. You'll never see what happened. We don't know where he went. All you know, he keeps flashing hundreds everywhere he goes, you know. Let's not do it that way, okay?
Okay.
You're going to give him a little bit of money, but he's going to get it from the successor trustee in the check so he don't end up wrapping himself around a car someday and killing himself. If that's okay with you guys.
It is. So
There's a little bit of documentation we got to fill out to get started, but I think from hearing you guys, understanding what you want to do, I think we have a path we can take that's going to give you, so we're not like this Aretha Franklin, which is going to be probated for many more years. Isn't that sad?
we don't have that much
And
money.
hopefully they find oil underneath there. We're not in the Bakken, but if they do, we can put that in your trust as well, because those oil checks never quit coming.
No, they don't.
Every check will come in your individual name unless it's in the name of the trust. Then your successor trustee, all you got to do is put it in the trust account and give it to the heirs. That's simple. Wind towers too. Pipelines, I don't know. Easements, you're fighting the government, so good luck with that. In that case, you need to get the militia out there and hold up a stand. This is the default line, you know, guys. Make sure you got plenty of musket balls, right? I'm just, you know, I don't mean to be so tongue-in-cheek, but talking about this sometimes in a way that's kind of comical, kind of takes the edge off it a little bit, and I hope you guys feel that way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I am here to help if you guys want me to help, and that's how this works. So
We are going to protect our project because it's been a big deal so far. So
Well, we're going to keep it going as long as we can.
amen to that. I think now we can keep getting those. We get rain right time of year. You guys could have 70 bushel beans out there.
that's on you.
You know, and $15 beans is okay with me.
It's all right with me as well.
All right, we're off to plan the estate
We got to
services.
start paying off all those tractors we bought from Titan Machinery.
Yeah, and then maybe we should tell Chad at Dacotah Bank. He's
Well, I know Pete, if that makes any difference.
We use Dean's credit, so even if we
gonna be
default
fine.
on them, it's
Oh, well, yeah.
awesome. All right, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Thank
Really
you so much.
appreciate
God bless you guys. Thank you for visiting with me. I appreciate that. We'll be in touch, okay?
Sounds good.